Let's roll on from there, and why don't you jump into some stories of some failure or mistake that you've learned from.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess one with MetaMarketer is we have had, and I don't want to get too specific on it, but we had a vendor that we became a reseller partner of this vendor, and we did it on behalf of a client. The client wanted to use the technologies that this vendor provides, and we thought, hey, it would be great if we, rather than them go directly to that vendor and license their technologies, what if we were a reseller and resold that technology, and then we can resell it to other people too, and that's a great additional revenue stream. Yay, we're so smart. And it was smart in the abstract.
This is what they teach you in MBA school.
It's so smart, yeah. The smart part would have been to make sure that we had, all the bases covered, and that if the client decided that they didn't actually want to go ahead and that they let us go, and then they chose not to have, those technologies in place after all, that we weren't saddled with, all of this technology that we'd licensed, and no one in sight who had any interest in licensing that technology.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was a huge burden to carry around for a while, and still honestly trying to resolve it. So that's a big one. And I did an end of the year blog post on the MetaMarketer blog this past December. And I said, beware of taking on too much risk too early, but at the same time, all the great things come with taking some risk.
Right.
So it's this really tough thing, balancing. If you're gonna go out in style, just really go big or go home. All that kind of philosophy is true, but you have to be weighing it against, what's the likelihood that this is going to go bad? I mean, how can you protect yourself on the downside? How can you protect yourself and make sure that somehow you're covered if, the unforeseeable happens or the unimaginable happens?
Yeah.
So that was a big learning experience for me specifically, and I think for us as a company, and probably for the vendor too.
Yeah.
So, the back and forth that it's cost.
So when that client took a 180 on you or whatever, what did that mean for y'all? I guess make it a little more real for us.
Well, so we still had, bills coming in from the vendor every month, and they're substantial bills. We still had debt to pay back on that, there's a heavy upfront cost and then monthly recurring fees, and none of that was recouped because we were all, bundling that in with what we were invoicing to the client. And the client decided that they want it out, and they want it out now, and, so it was a tough time. So we, it's been a cash flow struggle for sure. And that's what I think. Here I am, beginning year 3, as an agency owner, and I have to say, people talk about cash flow all the time, right? And in business school, like everybody says that cash. It's all that you really you get that hammered into your head, right? And it's true. I mean, certainly it's been heavy-handed experience, with this situation in particular, but all situations, all of the things that we've wanted to do but couldn't do because we didn't have the cash for, and sponsorships we would have done because it would have put us in front of the right people, but and it feels like we may have missed opportunities to make our name more prominent and have the right kind of awareness generation going on, but not really having the cash flow buffer kind of over the next 90 to 180 days or whatever. It's tough. It's a really tough thing to balance and get it right. And we've gotten it wrong on a couple of occasions, and I take that completely on myself because I'm the one who's really sort of owned that process. But it's got to be one of the tougher things, and I'm no dummy, and it's just not easy. It's a lot harder than what people may think. And I think it sounds cliche and it sounds overwrought when you hear about cash flow before you're in business, and then you kind of get into it and you're like, oh, really?
Yeah. They weren't kidding when they were trying to teach me how to do personal budgets and how it would affect the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It applies to so much.